Merry Squatchmas. So, I've recently been following a channel. I believe her name is Nancy. I'm not sure exactly what the channel is called. I should have actually looked that up before I got started here. So I apologize, Nancy, but I'll make sure to put your link down below. And so what Nancy has been doing is for the 12 days of Christmas, she's been doing the 12 days of Squatchmas. And for 12 days now, since about December 12th or so, she gives a story on a encounter of Bigfoot, someone's recollection of their own personal encounter. And so she shares these stories of Bigfoot. And then at the end of her video, she then invites her whole entire community. She has thousands of subscribers and followers, and people like me who like to listen to these stories. And she then goes to other YouTube channel content creators channels, and she invites her whole entire community to follow her so they can subscribe to a new channel and to listen to other stories of Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and to leave a comment below. Merry Squatchmas. So there are so many different viewers out there now who are commenting Merry Squatchmas on comments on YouTube, and so many new subscribers are coming, new followers. So thank you so much, Nancy, for sharing your love and just sharing your stories here. So today, it is actually Christmas Eve Eve. It is the morning of Christmas Eve Eve. It is Friday, December 23rd. We're getting ready here. We have our bright Betty Bama lamps going to give us some light this morning. I've woken up early, always waking up before the family. And I wanted to share with you these stories, so hopefully I can share without any interruption my own personal recollection and experience of going out one night in January, I believe around 2012, 2013, probably 2013, January of 2013, going out, a really cold night with 3 others, and our main guide, Mr. Rob Kryder himself. So those of you who follow Sasquatch and Bigfoot and stories and facts and actual sightings that have been captured on video, then you probably know who Rob Kryder is. So I live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I had the opportunity to meet Rob Kryder several years ago, I guess over a decade ago now. And a friend of mine at the time, he was going out with Rob, and they would go out to a place nearby. I'll just say on the other side of the Sandias, on the east side of the Sandias, there's a spot where Rob Kryder had many sightings. He has all of his high-tech equipment, and he would go out and he would capture all the howls with audio recordings. He had his thermal cameras out there. I'm not sure if he captured anything with his thermal camera imaging out there or not. He found lots of different evidence of scat, hair, prints, of course, footprints, lodges, trees that have been broken, trees that have fell over, trees that have been dragged to different places. So my friend invited me to come out one time to meet Rob, And the first time I ever met him, I got to see his lab. He had a huge semi truck. The whole back trailer of it was all outfitted as his lab. All of his computers are set up with all of his ways to do his analytics and everything, all of his gear, all of his equipment. This is where he also tinkered with all of his equipment and building all the different radars, sonars, and thermal imagers and all that stuff. So the first time I met him, we got to hear about the stories of Bigfoot, and I got to hear how many years ago he captured Bigfoot on video. It was I believe in 1990, 95, somewhere around there, about 27 years ago. And he captured a video of Bigfoot, but it was back in the 90s when the digital zoom wasn't that great as it is now, compared to now. And so it's very jumpy, not so stable. And that was, they weren't even searching for Bigfoot at the time. They just stumbled upon him. So that's where his journey began. And then he started to find sightings, prints, signature howls out in the East Mountains of the Sandias in New Mexico. So I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's where I'm giving you this story from today. So I was invited to go out with them one night, and it was in January. I believe it was 2013 because it was, I believe, the year after our child was born. She was born in 2012 in August, so I believe it was 2013. And it was cold. It was in the middle of winter. I know this because after our excursion going out, I realized I needed better footwear. I needed better socks. I needed better boots, better hiking shoes, hiking gear. It was cold. I also needed to figured out that, after the whole excursion, I probably needed some sort of a weapon or some way to keep myself safe while being out there as well. So we go out one night and we go driving out beyond the East Mountains, past a town called Madrid, and we go out a little further out there. There's a post office off to the side of the highway there. And at night, the post office is closed. Everyone's gone home. There's no employees. There's no one. I mean, maybe there's someone going in there to check their mail. They have the P.O. boxes and you can walk in with your own key. Maybe someone's dropping off an envelope in the mailbox in the middle of the night. But other than that, the place is deserted. There's one other car there in the parking lot when we pull up. Rob, I think he was thinking maybe it was just security, just parked there. Maybe there is an employee who stays overnight at the post office. So we park there. We get our gear out. We have our backpacks on. We have extra warm gear in there. We have food. It's just a quick hike in. So, but we did bring some snacks, some water. Ways to carry some things. And we were all geared up for winter hiking. So we had, triple layers on, thermals on, long sleeves with sweaters and then hoodies and then coats on over that. We had beanies on, the full gear, completely as warm as we could possibly go. I'm sure I had 2 or 3 layers of socks, but still, like I said, I needed better foot gear. So we go out it's in the daytime when we go out. It's approaching sunset. So we're going out where there's still light. We're able to go out and walk around for a couple hours before it starts to get dark. So right there at the post office, going underneath the highway there's a creek. There's a creek that runs south through that area there. and that's the path that we start taking. So we walk along this creek, which pretty much dried up. It's winter time. If anything, there's patches of snow on the ground. The stream has trickles of water going through it, which are frozen trickles at this point. Some spots of the river are frozen over with a thin layer of ice. Now we're talking about being out here in New Mexico, where we don't have too much water flowing in all of our rivers and our acequias and all of our banks and things like that. They're mostly used for when we have floods, those flash floods, and then that's when they fill up. So at this time, not much water. There's no water to cross. I don't remember any water. I just remember it being hard, muddy ground and patches of snow and ice here and there. So we start walking in, this stream. It serpentines through. It goes more to the south and to the east. Serpentines down. We're just following it. We get about maybe 20-30 minute hike in, and then that's when Rob Kryder, he starts showing us evidence of footprints and tracks. He's all, okay guys, check it out. So we're walking on this wet riverbed or stream, right? As it was wet, it was muddy. Right now, the ground's hard. So these prints are actually in soft mud that's then been frozen over. So you can see them clear as day. These footprints were, a good 14 inches is what I'm guessing from my memory. They were bigger than a large human's foot. Plus, it's cold out there. I don't know why anyone would be walking around barefoot out there in the snow in the middle of January, in the middle of winter, right? Why would anyone be out there without the proper gear on, walking around barefoot, so there's bare footprints, not bare, but I mean like barefoot, like, a barefoot, not a foot with a shoe, not foot with a sock on, not foot with any gear on, but just the foot is being bare, not an animal bear, not bear tracks, but a bare footprint in the ground. Humanoid like, but flat and very wide and also extremely long. And he shows us the stride of it. It's not a human stride. I mean, you have to kind of hop from one footprint to the next to get that stride in, because we stand, I'm only 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. And Rob, I think he's about the same height, so we had to, do a little hop, skip, and a jump to be able to have our tracks, our steps match the big footprints. So there's a few that go across through the stream, as if they were going, cutting across it, going into the shrubbery there, the woods, which, in New Mexico we have a lot of I think it's called tremisa. It's like kind of like this sagebrush. We have a lot of Russian olive. We have those cedar berries. What are those called? Junipers. We have like junipers and the juniper berries. We have like cedar, pine. I don't really know too much of the vegetation, but that's what I can recall here. Sun's coming up, so the lighting will get a little bit brighter here as we go. So we get in, walking through a little bit more. He shows us even more tracks on both sides of the stream, here and there, different size tracks as well. So now we know that it's not just one individual Bigfoot or Sasquatch, but a potential of 2, 3, maybe 4 of them. So, and as they cut across, going through the stream, it goes into this brush. And the brush is pretty thick, right? But then you see a little opening towards the bottom of it. It's kind of like they pulled over some brush on each side to make like an A-frame so you could enter in. And so we, duck under and walk in, and then you'd be underneath where like maybe it's a pine tree or a pinon tree or something like that, and the branches would be cleared out so where you could just, as soon as you entered in that spot, you could just stand up freely and walk around, and then you'd walk through those trees into this like clearing. Now we would go into several different clearings like that, and then we would find more openings from the backside of the clearing, which you could then walk back through to get to the stream. Now, this could be other game trail, there could be bear, it could be coyote, wolf, deer, other types of animals that go through these different spots. But the tracks, the Bigfoot tracks, the Sasquatch tracks, they led us through into some of these openings. So we knew we were following the footprints of a few of them. There was a time when we got to an opening. So after we went through and traversed through all of those openings and in and out of the brush and the stream, we hiked up more into, past the stream, and then we got onto these hiking trails and paths or game trails, and we got into like more of a clearing where there was like 2 or 3 different trails that branched off, so we could look in one direction towards the west while looking down south, while looking north, and then also checking our back on the east side where there was a lot of trees and brush, right? And on that other side of that brush, there was this vertical wall that seemed like maybe there were caves, a lot of rocks and rock formations. Things could possibly and probably be hiding back in there. So this was my first time going out. I wasn't prepared to be going out and coming across any sort of Bigfoot or anything like that, guys. To me, it was like, I'm just gonna go out. We're gonna venture. Yeah, this guy claims Bigfoot. We're gonna see if he sees anything or shows us anything. And as soon as we get out there and we start seeing these tracks, it's like, okay, this is real. All right, we're in it. We're here, and I'm not fully prepared. So Rob, he sets up in that clearing there, and I remember he gets his sonar. It's kind of like an umbrella microphone. It's a microphone with this umbrella or like a satellite dish on it. I don't remember specifically if it was an umbrella kind of thing that opened up or if it was an actual satellite dish that pulled out or telescoped out somehow. He had so much gear on him and in his bags and stuff, and maybe we even carried some of his gear in our bags too. Because like I said, I didn't have much. I didn't know what to take with me. I didn't have any weapons of any sort. Maybe I had a knife on me. Maybe a little survival knife, a hunter's knife or something, but not much other than that. So he sets up all this equipment, and then he tells my friend and I, why don't you guys go through the bush back here on the west side of us, right behind us, and go walk through over there, and I'm gonna and see if maybe if there's anything back there, maybe you can get something to scurry out, and I can capture some noise or something. And we're like, okay. So we cautiously start walking through, trying to make some noise, to let, if there's anything out there, know we're walking through. So we're stepping on branches purposely, rustling the leaves on the ground as we're walking. Instead of taking steps, we're kind of dragging our feet to make those leaves make some noise. Stepping on branches to purposely snap them. We're trying to make noise, trying, like, if there is anything out there, let's see if we can get it, force it out. Okay. So that was the plan. So I remember we went up kind of north and then went to the west and went through this brush, and we went into the back area there where that clearing was, and that wall or maybe there were caves or not. All we had were our little headlamps on. We didn't have any spot beams. We didn't have any of those really nice LED lamps or flashlights they have now that turns night to day, like those super bright beam, 10,000 lumens, 20,000 lumens. We didn't have anything like that. We had simple little hiking headlamps on, the ones that strap onto your head, on your forehead, and they can angle down a little bit to the ground or face forward. That's all we had. So we're walking through. It's getting dark. It's at this point. It's the sun's about to go down. The light's getting dimmer. Shadows are starting to approach. And so we walk through. We do a full circle all the way back to Rob, hoping that maybe we had anything scurry out. Apparently, he caught nothing. Down to the south side, though, he did get a heat signature on the camera, but he was saying, it's probably just a rabbit, maybe a mouse. That was it. So then we packed up all that equipment there, and we went down a little further down that creek where he saw that animal come out on the side, a little, I don't know, rabbit or mouse or something, a little small heat signature. And so we went down that way, and to the left side, which would be to the east side of the creek, we saw another one of those kind of A-frame openings. But this one, it had like smaller, like trees, baby trees that had just started growing. They're already, good 20 feet tall. Baby trees that are only, they're still real skinny, but they grow tall. They sprout up tall. These trees were basically pulled in from the left and from the right, pulled in to form a perfect A-shape doorway that went into this brush and into this like pine trees. So we went in there. He pointed out, like, hey, look, there's another opening right there. Like I told you, this is how they create their dens. So we're like, okay, so these trees are pushed down so far to where I would say it's a good 3.5, 4 feet short. The height of the top of that triangle, when the two trees are brought in together and they crisscross at that top, they create a triangle opening. And so about 3.5, 4 feet from the ground to that apex there of the triangle, you have to basically duck down, almost to your knees to get up under here. So we all walk in, Rob goes in first. I think my friend went in next, and Rob's girl at the time was with us, and and then I went in. And I remember as soon as we all got in there and I walked in, I believe I was one of the last ones coming in. They were already in there, and they were just standing straight up. Now, if you understand, a lot of pine trees, a lot of these trees, they grow all the way down to the ground. So that's why going into this portion, it was very wooded. It was a lot of heavy brush, a lot of the sagebrush mixed in with the pine and everything. There was a lot of brush. And when we ducked under there, you would think that we'd be coming up into a bunch of branches underneath that tree, but it was just all cleared out. It was cleared out all the way to the point that we could stand straight up and I could put my arms up. I'm only 5'7", 5'8" on a good day, like I said. So on a good day, I can only reach up maybe 6, 7 feet. Well, of course 6 feet. So probably about 7 feet or so. 7 feet tall. There was a clearing underneath these pine trees. So it was interesting because it was just right there was a clearing. It's like you walk in to like a little room, like the size of a closet, not a large closet, not like a large walk-in closet I mean, well, I guess so. Like, kind of like the smallest type of walk-in closet, something about 5 by 5, 4 by 4, 5 by 5. Not too big. The four of us are standing all there, face to face, kind of huddled in, but we can all stand there together. But to the sides of us are branches that come down. So in order to get through and walk past that opening, that clearing, you then have to duck. And basically at that point, we had to crawl to then walk underneath. So in this opening, Rob started to observe a few things. For one, something had cleared it out. Now, it could have been any sort of animal, yes. It could have been a bear. It could have been, any other large animal could have walked through and taken out some of the branches as it was trying to get through and clear its own path, correct? Bears do rub against trees. So, he noticed, though, that if a bear had done this, all those branches that should have been there weren't on the ground. They would have just fallen with gravity directly to the floor, right to the forest ground there. Underneath our feet, it was matted with a thick layer of pine needles from years and years accumulation of this tree, this pine tree, just dropping its pine needles down directly on the floor. So a very thick matted covering of pine needles all around. But all the branches, even tiny twigs, none were found in this clearing right there, right below us. So whatever went in there and cleared out this spot took the branches out and cleared it out. Maybe part of that A-frame of those two trees that were pulled over, maybe they used some of the branches on those to kind of hide, disguise the opening there. So, but we went in there and realized that there was a definite clearing. Something purposely cleared that out in that soft pine. And so the next thing he noticed was that on the ground there, it was all clear, but there was a little bit of scat. Now, scat, for those of you who don't know, is basically animal poo. And so he found a specimen of animal poo on the ground. Now, if you're a parent and you've had a child before, you've had a baby, you've had to change diapers, you know that when a newborn is first breastfeeding, that they have this kind of let's say it's like avocado green in their diapers, right? Like an olive green. And so that's what we found on the ground. Basically, it was a newborn scat, except this scat contained Russian olives and the salt cedar berries. And the way that I know this is because Rob, he's a tracker. This is what he does. And so he was giving us these observations. Uh-oh. Looks like we're about to lose one of our lamps here. And so he was explaining to us that this room had been cleared out, possibly. Oh, look at that. The light just came back. I said something and it was like, oh, sorry. So the light came back on. So he was explaining to us that what he is observing out there is he's been following a family of Bigfoot, that there's a mother and there's a father, and that they have they have youth. And he believes that this little area here was cleared out right on the creek bed there, so the parents could observe any sort of animals or any sort of incoming possible, any sort of incoming danger, right? And so I'm watching this flame, this light. It's throwing me off. Sorry. It's like going in and out. It's like it wants to go turn on and turn off. I don't know if you can see it. The bright Betty Bama lamp is having issues here. So let me continue. So he was explaining that, this little 5x5 clearing, it was meant for them to be able to observe, and then the whole entire area underneath the tree, so going around the whole tree trunk. Like I said, we would have to then duck under to get underneath the branches, but then they would like open up a whole nother room. And there were several rooms that opened up around this tree. And then, trees grow side by side next to each other. So then you'd go under the canopy of another tree right next to this pine tree, and there'd be a whole nother opening. And it was kind of like these little rooms, and then you'd have to duck under the branches, and then you'd go into another room, and each room was cleared just the same. No branches on the ground, no twigs, completely cleared out with only pine needles. So it was extremely soft. And we were having to then, at some points, do an army crawl where we were down on our chest, on our bellies, on all fours, crawling, just ones and twos with our arms and just shimmying up underneath a lot of these different, the shorter branches and areas to get through these kind of crawl spaces. And so Rob was explaining that their young probably run through here. This is like a little nursery, a little daycare, a little play area for the young to go running around, tumbling, tackling each other, the way kittens play. They just run around, chase each other, tackle each other, wrestle around, get away from each other, and then go chase each other down again, right? That's what they do. So it's the same thing with these youth, the babies. They also do the same thing. Just because they're Bigfoot don't mean that they don't act like babies as well. So we crawled through this whole area. It was magnificent to see just how clear it was. It was also scary to think that we were in the playpen, basically, of a few baby Bigfoot. So we journeyed out of there. Before we journeyed out of there, though, in that first opening, in that first clearing, I'm sorry, I didn't explain this, but we did observe long pieces of hair. Some of them were kind of like this reddish, brownish color. Some of them were white, like an old man's hair, like an old man's gray hair. Some of them were all the way up as tall as I could reach on the highest branch. Like I said, if I reached as tall as I could reach, I would only be able to get up to about 7 feet. So that's as high as I was able to find some of these hair specimens. So we took them with tweezers, and then Rob placed them into different tubes that he had, little either glass tubes or plastic tubes that had caps on them. And then he would write the date and the the outing that he had it titled as something. So that way he could keep tabs on which outing, which time, where it was found, and he also took the scat. He took a sample. He took that scat sample put it in a Ziploc baggie or some sort of container like that, and then packed it up, and then we went crawling around in there through the den on all fours and army crawling and stuff, looking around, and then that's when we left. So after we left, it was getting dark at that point, and so we were starting to hike back out. Now in January, I'm trying to remember, like, when does the sun actually go down, and when does it really get dark out here? As right now, I know our sun goes down pretty early. It just was winter solstice. The darkest and longest days or nights, and I'm trying to think what time. Maybe 8ish, 7, 8ish would be when it would start getting dark. So we start hiking back out. I'm thinking we're getting out. It's got to be like, by the time we're finally out of that place, I think it was at least like, I thought it was late. But then I'm trying to piece everything together, and I know that when we were walking around, there was still daylight. Then the sun went down as we were walking back out. I believe we were under a full moon, so I think it was around maybe the 20th, 21st of January, sometime around there in 2013. So it would be interesting to actually look back on the calendar and see when was that full moon, because then I'd be able to really know when we went out. I'm trying to think of anything else that had happened. We thought we did hear a call, while we were out there. Rob tries to mimic the signature call of their, like, kind of wailing, and they also have their whoops, whoop, whoop, and then they have their loud kind of screech, yell, growl. So it's interesting that Wick's just trying to go in and out. It's like, I want a light. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. So we're headed out, guys. We start walking back. We follow that creek bed all the way back. We hiked in a good, I don't know, hour or two. I don't really recall how far we really walked in, but I know it took some time walking out, following that creek bed. It seemed a lot longer walking out than walking in, for some reason. I don't know why. So I know we were getting closer to the highway there. You could see it. You can see the cars above driving past, and you could see kind of like the lights coming from where the post office was in the far, far distance. We get around this the winding creek bed. It's serpentining through, so we're winding through on this creek bed, and we get to a point where we're headed north at this point, and the creek bed, it winds to the west, so it turns left on us, right? It's a perfect 90-degree angle turn on this creek bed. There's a tree that's in the creek bed, right? So let's say it's like this is the tree right here, and there's a creek bed, right, that's coming up this way, and it goes around, right? Or actually, let's just put it this way. Let's turn this guy around. So let's say that the tree goes this way, and the creek bed comes up like this, creek, and the creek follows this way, right? So we get to that part of the creek bed. It's a 90-degree turn. There's a sand barge right here in this portion of the creek bed, right in front of the tree. The tree's basically sitting in the creek bed, right? And then there's like kind of like sand right here. So instead of going around and doing this, we naturally cut across. We cut an angle going across that sand barge right there. and Rob's in front with his girl at the time, and me and my friend are in the back, and the two of them in the front just stop in their tracks. No noise, no nothing. They just stop. Rob kind of does his little hand signal to show us to, hey, stop. We're looking down the trail there. All we really got's moonlight. Like I said, we got those headlamps on, but they don't really go far. They're not high beams or nothing. We just really got that moonlight. And we see something in the distance. Now, my perspective, I'm looking at this thing in the trail, and I'm like, what is that, a rabbit? Like, it's so small. Like, is that a rabbit? I'm like, is that a wolf or a coyote? Like, it looks a little bigger. Now, this thing has movement. It's moving in our direction. It's moving towards us. It's walking down the stream, coming in our direction. And we're just standing there, I'm watching it. It looks like it was something small in the distance. The closer it's getting, it's looking a little bigger. Then I'm wondering, is that a bear? I notice Rob now, he's, getting prepared. He's got his hand on his weapon, just in case. I believe, or at least he was, prepared to pull it out, just in case it was a bear. We see this big, dark figure coming at us. It looked like it was on the ground on all fours for a moment, but it was so far in the distance that, like I said, at first I thought, was it a rabbit? Like, I don't mean like a bunny rabbit, but a jackrabbit. We have big, large jackrabbits here. But it wasn't hopping. So then I was like, well, then is it, like a coyote or a wolf? Then it got bigger. Then it's like, well, is that a bear? What is that? It's transformed from something small in the shadows and the moonlight to now it's this big object approaching us. Rob's, I believe he had his hand on his weapon ready to draw, and it's coming towards us still. It's not making any sort of noise, any sort of, no growls, no animal noises, nothing like that. So we start calling towards it. Hello, hey there. Just in case it's another hiker. Want to let them know we're out there too. Maybe it's a hunter. We don't want to accidentally get shot. So we're letting ourselves be known that we're out there. Hey, hello. No call back. This shadow is still approaching us. Not fast, just at a walking pace, just slowly coming at us. It gets closer and closer. Next thing you know, it's a good 50 feet away. At that point, I'm realizing it's not a bear on all fours. It looks like a man walking towards us. Not a huge man. I would say, 6 foot tall, regular size man, a good tall man, 6 foot tall. But this individual walking towards us wasn't all black. This individual continued to stay in a shadow the whole time. Now, I understand I wear a lot of black. I wear black hoodies all the time. To me, it looked like an individual, a man, 6 foot tall man, in wearing a hoodie, all black hoodie, no logo, no print on it, no logo, no theme, no brand name, no nothing, no colors on it, just solid black, in black pants, all black. No, you can't really see any seams, no pockets, no cargo pants, no nothing like that. Just all like if they were snowboard pants, but without that shimmer and shine. Just all matted black. Boots, if they're wearing boots, were all black. Couldn't see any feet, any toes. Just looked like all black. The hands looked like there were no hands, just maybe black gloves. And the face was dark, as if the hood was pulled over, kind of drooping over the eye area, and like if the individual was bearded, and was just dark. So this individual walked towards us, or not, maybe not towards us, but was just walking up the creek. Like I said, if this is the creek here, it's coming up, walking around the tree right here, it's a little tree, and then coming up this way, up the stream there. So we're standing right here, right? Where the tree is, and there's a sand barge, and we're kind of up a little bit higher, just a little bit, maybe a foot higher than the creek bed itself. Creek bed's over here. We're on the sand barge over here. There's 4 of us. I'm towards the back over here. Rob Kryder and his girls up in the front. Me and my friend are in the back over here with our headlamps on. This individual, this shadow figure, just continues to walk towards us, with this arms, his arms just kind of like in this motion of where they just like rocked on its side. Every step it took, it was a strange kind of walk. Not one that a man would walk. But the strides were long and big, and the arms also swung with each step. And this individual just walked right past us as we're saying, hello, hey, hello, hey, hello there. It's walking past, going around the creek bed. So this guy is basically just walking like this, going right in front of us, walks right past, goes around the tree, right? So now he's over here around the tree. And as he's on this side of the tree over here, walking past, I'm right here. I'm looking towards it. Now I'm closest to it, right? So this thing comes walking around the tree like this. I'm standing right here. It walks right in front of us, walks right past us like this, comes up. As it walks around that tree and walks past us on this side, so we're right here, he's walking right here, he finally looks over. He looks towards us, just moves his head in a slow motion, and my headlamp was perfectly dead on its face, and all I could see was there looked like skin near the eyes and the brow and the nose, and everything else was bearded and just covered in fur. If it was a man, it was a woolly man who had never shaved, has a beard that grows up real close to up on its cheeks, which some men grow very big bushy beards up that high. But that it was interesting. Almost ape-like, almost human-like. Just looking at that face, I still to this day don't know what I saw. Because this shadow, this individual was 6 feet tall. It wasn't 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 feet tall. So if this was possibly a Bigfoot that walked right past us, It made no noise. It didn't feel threatened. It didn't come after us and chase us. There was no smell that was distinguished with a Bigfoot. That was another thing, is I don't remember any of that nasty swamp smell. I don't remember seeing any feet, bare feet. It looked like the individual had boots on. But also, remind you, this is middle of January, in the freezing cold. My feet are already freezing at this point, and I'm hoping to hurry up and get back to the car so I can warm them up. And there's an individual walking out there with just a hoodie on, not a coat, not like a big old parka, or no sort of ski jacket or snowboarding jacket, nothing like that, you know? Just a hoodie and some pants. No gear, no backpack, no camping gear, no tent, no water bottle, no nothing, no flashlight, in the dark, walking out by himself. To this day, guys, I still have no idea what we encountered. All I know is that the whole entire expedition was a lot of fun. It was an amazing experience to be able to watch Rob work with all of his equipment, for him to be able to point out the things that we could have never have noticed. You know, the different markings on the trees, the different ways that branches were broken over but not broken off. The footprints, you know, we would have never noticed those in front of us, even though they're, you know, as soon as they're pointed out, they're pretty much clear as day and huge and right there. But we would have walked right past them and over them. You know, finding those little dens, the little playpen den, you know, those sorts of things. That's so amazing. His experience is phenomenal. That's why he does what he does. That's why those who are also searching for Bigfoot, that's why they go to him. They get his equipment. They go to him for his advice. And I'm honored and I'm grateful to know Rob, to be able to actually call him a friend, and to be able to say that I personally went on a Bigfoot exploration, a KX Rob Kryder exploration, searching for Bigfoot with the man. So there you have it, guys. That's my story. We made it back to the car safely, got to that post office, got in the car. I got my toes warmed up. We talked about what that was. No one still to this day knows. The next day, you know, someone commented on Facebook, "Oh, that was me, but I'm a little bit deaf." I don't believe that comment to be real. I don't believe anyone who is deaf and hard of hearing would be going out in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, all by himself, without any camping gear, amongst all the wildlife out there. I highly doubt that that individual actually was the individual who walked past us and didn't say hi. What other human would just simply walk past and ignore others in that way, with no camping gear, going out into the middle of nowhere? Like I said, we still had a little ways to go, but you could see the road right there. So this individual either started his journey, and also remember, when we get to the post office, there were no other vehicles parked there. So this individual walked from his home, if he lives out there. He was the person who works at the post office and decided to walk away from his post. This individual is just a homeless individual who's walking out in the middle of nowhere. This person had some sort of issues in life and was walking out to the middle of nowhere to end it all. I don't know, but I really don't believe that it was a human that we came across that night. I also don't know if it was a Bigfoot either. So to this day, I have no idea what walked past us when we were headed home, headed out of that little area there, the spot that Rob Kryder has searched for many, many years and has found actual physical evidence, has actually captured the sound audio recordings of the howls in this specific area that we went to, has drone footage, has thermal footage. So I want to thank you so much, Rob, for inviting me out that time. I know you said I can come back anytime again. Right now it's a little difficult with family and things, but I would love to go back. I would love to go out another time. I know that this is not a game. This is real. And going out, you definitely do put yourself in harm's way. It is dangerous. But at the same time, going out with one of the pros who knows how to respect their areas, to respect them as individuals, I would trust going out with Rob. And so maybe one day I'll have that opportunity again and I can come back here, maybe next year, for another Merry Squatchmas. Thank you so much once again, Nancy, for inviting others to check out different channels and things like that. And because you've done so, I don't have the largest following here. I'm not going to really be able to do much to help you out, but I'm definitely going to leave your link in. So I would love for everyone who watches this video here to let Nancy know that the Glass Man sent you, and to wish Nancy a Merry Squatchmas in her comments on any of her videos, especially her latest videos, and if she has a Merry Squatchmas video, but any video up until Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, joyous holidays, and a Happy New Year, you guys. Much love, many blessings. Hare Krishna. You guys be safe out there if you go searching for Bigfoot. Just know it's not a joke. It's not a game. They do exist. Treat them with respect. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks again for watching. Merry Squatchmas.